The Whiteout Podcast, episode 11. We're back after we took a bit of an all-star break too, but we're back. Noah, how you doing? It's been a while.
Yeah, even the people that don't get sent to the All-Star game still get an All-Star break. Doing well. Some pretty nice weather here for Manitoba in February, I guess now, and throughout the whole winter, at least for a couple cold spells. But yeah, doing well. It's always great to watch Jets hockey and talk it with you here, Braden.
Yeah, I mean it's been a ride in the last little bit here. Like pre All-Star break, we went through a little bit of a slump. We finally get back after, I guess, the game right before the break. We started to see a little bit more energy from the boys. Then we get back to post All-Star game, which I mean, I know there were some people saying like, "Are you going to talk All Star game, All Star competition?" And like, I don't know. I feel like everybody's sort of in the same boat where the All Star game and competition don't really mean much anymore. And is that something how you feel too, or is this something that's still like you get excited and pumped for?
I think I'm just kicking a dead horse if I'm going to talk about how I feel about the All-Star game. Everyone said Um, it's not a good look. No one cares, it seems, from the player's point of view. Maybe Dylan Larkin cared. Yeah. One thing I will say is people are like, oh, when will Winnipeg get an All-Star game? I'll let you know right now, never. Players don't want to come to Winnipeg in January or February to take a break from the season. They're going to want to go to Florida, Tampa Bay. Maybe we get an NHL draft because it is nice in June in Winnipeg. But honestly, the NHL probably not going to give us any big events anytime soon. I'm hoping more for a World Junior event. That'd be cool, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'm sort of on the same boat you are when I don't know. Maybe the NHL needs to put some money on the line for these games or competitions and go back to sort of how things were. You got your whatever 4 or 5 events that they did in the competition, and do a big game, put East West, and you play for $100,000 or something or more, I guess, if you got two divisions. But
I think they already are playing for $1 million split, so it probably has to be like 10 mil for them to care, maybe realistically. But I do like the idea of going back to East to West. At first, it was okay to go to this 3-on-3 format, but let's go back 5-on-5. Maybe make it worth more money, and I don't know, get the players to show some pride, perhaps.
yeah, and I don't know how you do that. Maybe it's just the where they're at. I think they're making it very. I don't even know. Like they're not really going to their audience. It's like they're using it to get new people watching. Maybe I'm not really sure, but it's not really working for the fan base that you have already, who are there for the competition and then the fight and the grit. But uh, it's a bad look on the NHL, I think, and I think that's held as a view throughout all the fan bases. I don't think anybody is in love with this All Star break. So
It's
I don't
very
know.
gimmicky, very
Very.
gimmicky.
That's a perfect word. It's very gimmicky. Yes, and it's getting a little overdone. I know you want to give the players a break, let them have some fun, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's not too much more I can say that's not, like you said, beating a dead horse. So let's just move on. Talk about Jets. I think the biggest topic that I think everyone's talking about, that we should cover is the trade deadline, and we have something interesting happening in Arizona right now with Jacob Chitrin. He hasn't played the last couple of games, and he's not scheduled to play for the rest of this week. What's your thought process in this? I don't understand why he's not playing. Even if there's a trade in talks, that trade, in my mind, should either be announced or he should still be playing for your team. Am I wrong? What do you think?
You don't know why? Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. When you're selling a car, you don't take it for a drive down Highway 1. How about that? You keep it in storage and you make sure it doesn't get any dents or nicks. When it comes to the trade deadline with the Jets, I mean, they're top 10 in the NHL. They're second in the Central. They're obviously buyers. And you look at Pierre-Luc Dubois potentially not wanting to re-sign in Winnipeg. He has this year and next year left. So I think you put everything in the middle of the table this trade deadline, especially with how well I think the team is playing under their new coach and with Connor Hellebuck in the crease. I think you go for it this year. You try and make a splash, maybe even two splashes. Um, I don't know if that's exactly what the Jets are gonna do, but that's what I would do just because they should take advantage of having Pierre-Luc Dubois on the team because when he's gone, you're probably going to trade him for pennies on the dollar based on the fact that he doesn't want to re-sign here. People are going to know that all the leverage is with PLD. So you have to go for it this year, in my opinion. I don't know if the Jets are. Is Jacob Chikrin a good fit? I think he's a good fit on any team. He's a cheap defenseman. He would be an upgrade. He would help people slot into roles perhaps that are more favorable for them. I haven't heard the Jets in that conversation though. I think he's probably going LA. He's probably going somewhere else. And by the time this podcast is released, with our luck, he will be traded, and this will be a conversation not worth having.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? We don't know. He could be sent. The news could come out in the next 2 hours, and then we scrap all of this. So, but I did hear there was reports in that the Jets have made that they did make an offer for Chitrin, but um, in my mind, I can't see us winning that. Even the Timo Meyer thing. I mean, we heard that Chevy did go to San Jose to watch. Um, I don't know. Again, I think I think we're swimming in. We're drowning in some bigger water here. We're not. We're going for the big fish, and I don't think that's in our cards, especially with players always not wanting to come to Winnipeg. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's going to be a couple small moves. I can't see any of these panning out for us.
The Timo Meyer one would be an excellent fit. I think that's better than a Jacob Chikrin trade, although, like, obviously Jacob Chikrin would fit well with the Jets. I just think they need a forward. I think they need another forward, and Timo Meyer is a fantastic option. He wants big money. I don't know if the Jets could necessarily fit him in under the cap without trading someone else with significant dollars, but I do know they have some room, but I don't know how much exactly he's asking for. Timo Meyer or someone of maybe that status would be a very nice fit, and I think that's what they should go for. In a previous podcast, or just talking to my friends, I forget where I mentioned this, but I was hoping for Vladimir Tarasenko. I thought Vladimir Tarasenko would be the perfect option for the Winnipeg Jets, and he's doing well in New York. He scored in his first game. He's off the market now, and Patty Kane definitely probably won't come here. Johnny Taves, it's his hometown. Maybe, just maybe, but depends on the asking price, right? Ryan O'Reilly, he's a cool forward. He's a heavy forward. I think he's probably going to go to the Colorado Avalanche. So I don't really know who the big fish the Jets could get, but I think they should try and get one because, like I said, PLD probably not going to be here past next year. And if you keep him for the playoff run next year, it's a gamble. He's gonna leave, I think. I just have a feeling, and if he stays, I'll be happily surprised.
Well, you brought up a couple things there. I mean, the Tarasenko thing, I was upset because you sort of know he wasn't coming here, but I think he would have been a great piece as well. Same with Bo Horvat, right? I thought Bo Horvat could have fit into that PLD role very easily. Again, another player I didn't think there was a chance in hell that was going to happen. Um, the interesting one for sure is the Jonathan Taves thing. I hear everybody talking about this, and if you want my personal opinion, which I guess if you're listening to this podcast, you do, I don't want bum ass Jonathan Taves. I,
Face-off percentage, he's like second best in the league, if not, I think he might be first. And the Jets struggle with face-offs.
the
Like
Jets
better than
need
Patrice Bergeron at face-offs.
the Jets need a goal scorer, and Jonathan Taves is no longer an elite goal scorer. Timo Meyer might be a fantastic goal scorer. That is the player we need. An offensive D man, another one that goes to Josh Morris, like Josh Morrissey. That is a good move. To get Jonathan Taves for me at this point means nothing. Yeah, a faceoff guy, but if we really want to win faceoffs, we throw Adam Lowry out there.
You need more than just Adam Lowry sometimes. What about Ryan O'Reilly?
I like the O'Reilly thing. I think there was he hasn't been great this year in St. Louis. He's had a couple years, but I think that's just based on the team he's played on, and I think he can do a lot more on a better caliber hockey team. So I am much more in on him than I am Jonathan Taves, and that's a hot take, I know, but you're from here, but I don't really care. It's if I don't know if that's going to be the piece to the puzzle that's going to be make us a Stanley Cup winning team.
Hey,
That's
you
just
look at that
me.
Chicago. You look at that Chicago team. Max Domi would be decent, hey? I kind of like that fit. No,
It's again, I don't know. That's an iffy one. Again, there's I like if we're not
you want
going
to
for the
cost.
if we're not going for the big fish. I don't know if there's a many guys that you can pick up right now that are going to be better chemistry wise than some of the guys we have here already. I'm not sold. If it's not a big trade, I don't really know if a move needs to be done.
Yeah, well, would you give up 3 firsts for Eric Carlson?
Oh yeah, I would.
You would?
Yeah, this
Uh,
year that guy's on fire. If you want to win a Stanley Cup, we're not a team that's going to win back to back Stanley Cups or three. Make it a three-peat. We got to take the ones we can get, and right now this is our year. You go for Carlson. You go for a Timo Meyer. You go for a Bo Horvat. You go for a Tarasenko. You go for a Chitrin. You don't like for me getting Jonathan Taves, paying out the whatever that they are asking for him, which is still probably a lot because he's again a face of the franchise for that team. And I don't know. I don't think it's worth it.
yeah, yeah. Well, there are a few other options. There's Gavrikov in Columbus, who is not an offensive defenseman. There is Ivan Barbashev out of St. Louis, so I think would be a pretty good fit.
I
He
like
has a
that
big
one too. Yeah.
Bertuzzi out of Detroit, which I don't mind. McCabe out of Chicago, Edmondson. It doesn't. The list isn't too long about big names here. Brock Besser, though. Brock Besser,
Yeah,
2 years at 6.65. That's a tough cap hit to eat right now.
it's a tough cap hit. I think again he is a player that maybe would fit somewhere in that PLD role, but to pick him up this year, pay that much, is he going to be a difference maker? Eh, I don't know.
Well, he's got a hell of a shot.
Yeah, yeah,
What
probably.
do
Yeah,
you
he's
say?
got a great shot, but I don't know. Maybe that's an interesting talk. I don't know. There's a couple of guys that are interesting. I just don't know if we sell out for some of these meh players when you have a pretty good like watching Mason Appleton the other night was just that guy is something else.
Yeah, he scored on his own net off the shin pad there, but he
Yeah, yeah,
definitely hustles. I think he's a good player, and I'm glad to have him back. In a previous podcast, I think I did mention that I wanted an upgrade on David Riddick, big save Dave, and since then he's posted an 8-4 record throughout the season, which is a winning record. And although the analytics put him as the 62nd best goalie in the league in some regard, but I do think it goes a long way for just winning games. He has a pretty good record when it comes to just winning games. So I'm iffy now on getting a backup goalie. Depends on the price. And really, you're hoping you ride Hellbuck for all 16 wins in the playoffs.
yeah. That was my whole point. Even when we talked about that podcast, was that if Hellebuck gets injured anyway, doesn't matter who your backup is, it's not Connor Hellebuck. So
Yeah, well, I mean, Colorado, I think, kind of had their goalie get injured last playoffs and figured it out.
yeah,
But
maybe.
the Jets are not the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, yeah. It's a talk. I think that's one of your takes that I was very much opposed to. Not too many do I oppose, but that one I was didn't love.
Yeah,
Um,
well, you got to have some hot
of
takes.
course, of course. Hey, like I said today, I think I've had a couple already, but
Yeah.
um, and trust me, as a Winnipegger, yes, Jonathan Taves is still a great hockey player. Go down in the history books as whatever, but
Greatest from Winnipeg.
greatest from Winnipeg for sure. But am I head over heels for him? Over like, are we putting all our chips into him, or are we maybe paying a little bit extra for a Timo Meyer or a Chitrin? I don't know. Like for me personally, I would rather go with one of those two guys. Which don't get me wrong, I know it's not all money and what you give to them because the player also has to want to come here. But that's
No,
my
I hear
take.
you. I hear you. I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but he is good at face-offs. So I'm not saying he's going to score for us, but he could fill a role potentially that I think Adam Lowry mostly already fills, but it's just a good story, and maybe just maybe it lights the fire under him to find something. And he's a playoff player. He seems to score more in the playoffs lately than he does in the regular season when they make it there. And referencing the bubble a couple years back, he played pretty good against Edmonton, but
Yeah, and you're not
he-
wrong. He's a role player now. Um, and we've talked about, that I'm on the side of faceoffs are very important in a hockey game, where a lot of people aren't. But I don't know. I don't know if you get a guy like I think there's other people in this league that can be um, a great face-off man for probably a lot less of the price.
yeah, that's fair.
So it's an iffy one. I think you're 100% right on the story aspect of him coming back home, going to the playoffs, helping this team go to the cup. But again, I don't know.
Something to be said for experience.
That's right. That's right. But anyway, I guess I don't know. We could talk. I mean, we could talk trades and who over who. But I mean, in the next couple days, we'll see. Right? I think we're what 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out.
March 3rd. So the Jets will be in Edmonton to play the Oilers on the 3rd, trade deadline day. And then the following day, they'll be in Winnipeg to play guess who? The Edmonton Oilers on a back of on the heels of a home and home, a back to back against the same team. I think that's going to be phenomenal because I know both teams don't like each other. Both fan bases don't particularly like each other. For me, those are my two favorite teams, and my friends like to pick on me about that. But I will be at that game cheering on the Oilers. But if the Jets do win, I'll be happy. It's just nice to see Connor McDavid at uh, yeah, in a game. It's always a pleasure, and it's always a pleasure to see Kyle Connor in a game, and Mark Scheifele in a game, and Connor Hellebuck in a game. And most of the time, when I've seen the Oilers versus Jets, the Jets come out on top. But there is a few that stick out for me where the Oilers came out on top. I did go to the Heritage Classic. The Oilers won that game 3-0. That was somewhat sweet for me as an Oilers fan. And don't get me wrong, while they might be 1A, Jets are 1B. And yeah, just looking forward to seeing both my favorite teams play each other again.
Yeah, no, and it is a very different look when you see Connor McDavid in person rather than over the TV. It is mind blowing when you see him
Yeah,
on the
it's funny
ice.
looking at the ticket prices in Edmonton for the Jets game. So looking at the ticket prices here in Winnipeg, where you don't get to see Connor McDavid every game, are a little high, especially with the Oilers doing decent, at least as we speak. They're fighting. They're fighting in that Pacific Division for the title, even though it's a weak Pacific Division. And as we speak, the Jets are the better team on paper and in the standings, and they've played like it all season long. Although the one meeting that they did play each other, it was very tight, and Connor Hellebuck was probably the best player in the game. So looking forward to the March 3rd and 4th. Should be a cool couple of days with the trade deadline, both for the Jets and Oilers, and then the back-to-back games.
And I'm not sure if I'm in the booth that game, but their radio play-by-play guys, some of the funniest in the league. They are a blast. So even if you're no, if you're a Jets guy, you listen to Paul Edmonds. You don't go. But I'm just saying, maybe check in for a bit. They're funny too, but
You
they're
going with
they're
Jack
no
Michaels or
yeah
Cam
yeah
Moon?
yeah they're no Jamie Thomas and Paul Edmonds, but they're good to listen to too. So I always had fun with them. Um, I do have a question for you, and it's about this past game. Everybody's a little split on how they think PLD played in that hockey game. Where do you stand?
Well, I mean, he did take a penalty that wasn't the greatest, I don't think. He scored the shootout winner. Do I think it was Pierre-Luc Dubois' best game of his career? No. Do I think that he hurt the Jets? Maybe a little in a couple instances, but he definitely also helped the Jets win the game with the shootout winner, the skills competition there. So I don't know. I'm split on it too, but overall, having PLD on the team, he's fantastic. So you take the good with the bad. Even the best players in the league have their moments where they're hurting your team a little bit, but they end up helping you in the end, like it was shown in the end of that Seattle game with a a nice shootout winner in the skills competition. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a weird one. Um, I didn't think he had his best game, but he showed up. He scored the game tying goal. He scored the OT or the shootout winner. So he does what he does. I mean, it was a 2-2 hockey game. I don't think there was only two of the four goals were actually skillful goals. Everything else was some weird bounces and some funny whatever. So I think it was a very, I don't want to say playoff like atmosphere, but you could tell there was a bit of tension between the teams, and the 1-1 series split. Um, and neither of the teams winning by more than one goal in any of the three games. It's, I think if we see these teams in playoffs somewhere down the line, it's I think it's going to be a hell of a series.
Yeah, I personally think the Jets probably take that series in 5 or 6, but I think Seattle definitely plays with an edge and they play hard. So I think it would be a tight series, but still Jets in 5.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Jets are a better team, and they definitely showed it last night, or 2 nights ago, I guess, if when you guys listen to this. But they were the better team in the majority of that hockey game. Yeah, they got the steam taken out of them a little bit with the Dubois penalty and the funky goal, but I don't know. There's not too many teams that I'm saying that are better than the Winnipeg Jets right now, and I did put a bet down saying that the Jets will win the conference. So we'll see. Hopefully,
Not bad. I mean, they're pretty close there, so
yeah,
I like it. I like it.
2 points back now with the game in hand.
Yeah, so their winning percentage is virtually the same, 639 versus 645 of Dallas. Yeah, they have that game in hand and they're 2 points back. Um, yeah, so let's see where things go. Dallas does have l- way less regulation wins. Looking at it, they have 4 less regulation wins, and what is that? 10 more loser points. So, I mean, Jets seem like the better team,
Yeah, I
but
think so.
any given game is any given game in the National Hockey League. Jets
That's
lost
right.
to Philadelphia. They got shut out.
That's right. And okay, here's another weird one. Hellebuck, is he still in your top two or three for Vesna?
Mm, as someone who's been a Connor Hellebuck supporter forever, yes. Do I think maybe people around the league have acknowledged he hasn't been playing up to his standard the last 7 games? Sure. Maybe. Maybe he's only top 5 now instead of top 3, but I think if he puts strings together 5 good to great games, he's back in that conversation. Although I don't think that Boston goalie is gonna lose the Vesna at this point. Just my opinion.
Yeah, and my whole take on that Omar Vesna thing is, yeah, he's played great, but my biggest argument with the Vesna, and it's been like this for years, has always been it should be more of what the goalie does for the team than what the team does for the goalie. And I think it shows, yeah, Omar could be a great goalie, but he's also on the best team in the NHL. And I think that helps a ton. Whereas Connor Hellebuck is, making some ginormous saves, being unbelievable pretty much every time he's on the ice. Yeah, maybe a little bit of a slide in the last couple of games, but I think he is the best skilled goalie in the NHL. And I think, honestly, I'd give it to Ottinger before I give it to Allmark, personally. If you're going off of my basis, I guess.
Yeah, no, yeah. Do you have him in the top 3 still, or would he move more top 5?
Hellebuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's top three. I think it's becoming a little bit more of a conversation, because I don't think he's played his best hockey, but um, I still think he does more for this NHL team than most goalies do for theirs. So yeah, I still consider him top three.
Right on, yeah. Connor Hellebuck, best player on the Jets. I should make it a shirt.
You should, yeah, yeah. We'll get him to sign all of them. Start
Yeah.
selling them. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. We're going. We do have a very tough upcoming schedule. As we look right now, we have I think it's what, two easier games. I think we played Columbus. Yeah, we played Columbus, and then I think we got a tough stretch until the end of February. I mean, we got New Jersey, New York, Rangers, Islanders, Avalanche,
Worst case
Islanders.
scenario, in the next 6 games, Jets should be 3-3 or some equivalent of that.
I
Three,
agree. I agree.
1-2, 3-2-1. But I mean, we are not the best at predictions when it comes to the schedule here on the podcast. So
No, I think we've been
um,
we've been wrong more than we've been right for sure.
they do need vengeance against Columbus, and that should come tonight. New Jersey, hot team. Rangers, hot team. Islanders, they are sneaky good, but they're not good when it comes to the top contenders in the league. We'll see Avalanche pretty banged up, but we'll see. And the Islanders again. So I'm gonna go 3-2-1, and that's worst case scenario.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think you're right where we might let a couple slide here. Especially there's a couple back to backs. I think right, the 19th and
Yeah,
20th, and then
not
the.
big travel though. Not big travel when it comes to the back to back on
You're right.
Sunday and then Monday, both in the state of New York.
Yeah,
Devils and then Rangers,
yeah,
and then you get a couple days off. You play the Islanders.
yeah. It's not looking as crazy as we've been through anyway. So, um, yeah, it's tough teams, but I always say the Jets play down or up to their opponents. So, I think, yeah. You know what? I'll go 4-1-1.
Love to see it. Love to see it.
That might be a little bit heavy on the wins, but I think they got it in them. There's not, again, like I said, there's not too many teams that I think that are a better hockey team than the Winnipeg Jets. So the Islanders, I have not much faith in after seeing them lose to Vancouver. Um, that sort of killed a little bit of hype around that team, especially even with Bo Horvat now. Um, New Jersey, the Devils are a great hockey team. Um, Avalanche, like you said, are banged up. So a lot of variables, right? I think we'll start to see. Um, I would say in the next month, or yeah, but next couple weeks, I think we'll start to see some players returning from the IR, and a lot of these teams heading into closer to playoffs wanting to get some games in before that. As I know, I think Jake DeBrusk on Boston is set to come back. And there's a couple other ones around the league that are set to come back in the next week or so. So the standings might make a change now that a lot of these teams are getting guys back. Noah, you got any, I guess, final thoughts? We have a ton to talk about, but we've been blessed with having the Jets be a good hockey team for a ton of months now. So yeah, you got any final points, final questions?
No, no, no. Just looking forward to how the Jets do for this next stretch before the trade deadline, and I think that'll impact on how all in they go. But if Kevin Cheveldayoff is listening, or if ownership is listening, I would like to advise you to go all in as one of your best players and probably best all around 200-foot player, Pierre Luc Dubois. He's got his bags packed on a certain date. And I think this year you go all in with him, and then maybe next year you keep him as a rental. But if things don't go as planned next year, you trade him. So I don't know. Just my advice. And maybe he stays. Maybe I'm wrong. But I just get that feeling, and I've heard some rumblings that PLD, he's got an expiry date in Winnipeg. And like milk, you don't want to push the expiry date with that. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
yeah, that's a great point. The PLD thing is weird because I think if they make a far push into the playoffs this year, maybe that inclines him to stick around, put more effort in. Maybe he thinks, okay, we have a shot at the cup here. Now, if it's an early exit, maybe we say bye to PLD. If it's if we end up winning the cup this year, I think it's for sure bye. I don't think he's gonna. I think he's going to be like, okay, I got my cup, I can go, right?
Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot going on in the NHL right now. We're sort of in limbo with the trade deadline coming up, um, but it's been a riot. This is the probably the most fun I've had at a trade deadline with one of my teams being a seller in the Vancouver Canucks and one of my teams hopefully being a buyer in the Winnipeg Jets. So we'll see. We'll place our bets now. You know what? That's the buoy question of the week. Who do you think the Jets get?
Hmm. I get a feeling they're not going to buy heavy. Best case scenario, I'll say Ivan Barbashev. And maybe, just maybe, they bring the hometown kid back, Jonathan Taves, but one of those two, and then probably another depth forward slash D. So we'll go Barbashev.
I'm with you. I think that Barbashev one is I would say closer to the most likely. The Jonathan Taves thing is always a possibility. Kid wants to come home, but um, do I think we get a big name guy? Absolutely not. So,
But should they?
100% they should. Yeah.
That's the question. And we wait for an answer.
And we wait for an answer. Anyways, let us know in the comments or on our Twitter who you guys think that the Winnipeg Jets should go after, who you think they will get. Try to be realistic. I think we all go into trade deadlines hoping for the big show, and doesn't always. It seems to never pan out with this team. We're not a big trade deadline buyer ever.
Kevin Hayes and Paul Stastny were pretty good pickups.
I love Kevin Hayes, but you're right. You're right. There has been some good ones, uh, but I don't know that we're not gonna pull an Islanders, and I don't think pick up a Bo Horvat or a Timo Meyer or a Chitrin. So that's just my opinion, but I think just keep the expectations realistic. Look at what this team needs as we've gone over, and yeah, just don't start burning vehicles when we don't get some big name guy to come here. So,
I would say never burn a vehicle.
well, I mean, if you're the Vancouver Canucks fans, I think you lose that thing, you light them on fire. I think you. I,
Oh,
I can't
wow.
say that with a straight face.
Yeah, it was a tough loss. I was devastated. I wanted a Canadian team to win, but I think it wasn't a good look. And Jets fans, they know how to stay classy.
What an end! What an end, ladies and gentlemen. Noah Fuchs, take it.